My name is Jason Cole. I'm 32 years old. I work in an architecture firm downtown, and I live a pretty routine life. Coffee, commute, deadlines, Netflix, repeat. But what I'm about to share with you is the one thing I've never told anyone. Not my coworkers, not my therapist, not even my brother. This is the story I've never told anyone. I call it my best friend's wife knocked my door at midnight with divorce papers. It started on a Thursday night in March. A cold, wet evening. The kind that soaks through your coat and makes the city feel lonelier than usual. I was up late working on blueprints. Deadlines. Again. Around midnight, just as I was shutting down my laptop, there was a knock at the door. 3 quick knocks. Then silence. I live alone. 3rd floor of a brownstone walk-up in Logan Square. No one ever knocks this late. Not unless something's wrong. I opened the door and just froze. There she was. Emily. Wearing a long beige coat, soaked at the shoulders. Mascara smudged. Hands trembling. Her eyes locked with mine. And for a moment we just stood there, breathing in the silence. And then she held up a manila envelope, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside without saying a word. Emily was my best friend Noah's wife. We all went to college together. I was the 3rd wheel at their wedding. I gave the best man speech. I helped them move into their first house in Evanston. I watched their daughter grow up from a baby into a talkative little 7-year-old with Emily's stubborn chin and Noah's sarcasm. And yet, there she was, in my apartment, at midnight, with divorce papers. She sat on the edge of my couch like she didn't know what to do with her body. I grabbed a towel, handed it to her, and sat across from her. Finally, I spoke. "What happened?" She didn't answer at first. She just stared at the envelope in her lap like it was ticking. Then, she said quietly, "He cheated on me." I blinked. "Noah?" She nodded. 3 months. Her name's Lisa. She works at his gym. I found their messages. The pictures. Her voice cracked. He didn't even bother deleting them. Silence stretched between us like wet cement. My throat tightened. I didn't know what to say. Noah and we'd been best friends since freshman year. We'd been through everything together. Car accidents, breakups, family deaths, job losses. I thought I knew him. Emily wiped her face and laughed bitterly. "I didn't come here for sympathy, Jason. I came here because I don't trust myself not to go back to him. I needed somewhere safe to go." I swallowed. "Of course. You can stay here as long as you need." She looked up, her eyes glistening. "Thank you." And just like that, the foundation of my entire life began to crack. The next morning was awkward. Emily had crashed on my couch. I barely slept. I kept replaying everything in my mind. Her knock, her tears, her silence. And Noah. I wanted to punch something just thinking about him. At 7:15 a.m., just as I was pouring coffee, my phone buzzed. It was him. "Noah. Hey man, you around later? Need to talk." I stared at the message, feeling something churn in my gut. He didn't know she was here. He didn't know she came to me. Later that afternoon, I met him at a bar near his office. When I walked in, he was already drinking. Alone. Hair messy, sleeves rolled up. He looked hollow. "Jay," he said, lifting his drink. "Man, I messed up." I didn't say anything. He took a long sip, then leaned in. "She found out about Lisa. I didn't mean for it to happen, I swear. I wasn't even looking. It started with conversations. I didn't think it'd go this far." "Did you love her?" I asked. He looked away. "I don't know. Do you love Emily?" "I did. I think I still do. But it's different now." Couldn't breathe. I wanted to yell. I wanted to tell him everything. But I didn't. Instead, I said, "You should leave her. If you can do this to her, you don't deserve her." He flinched. "She's not talking to me. She took Sophie to her mom's. I haven't seen my daughter in days." She hadn't taken Sophie. She left Sophie at Noah's mother's place and came to me. I left the bar early. Couldn't take it. Everything I thought I knew about loyalty, friendship, marriage, it was unraveling. I walked back in the rain, heart heavy. When I reached home, Emily was in the kitchen, cooking pasta. She looked up when I walked in. "How'd it go?" "He doesn't even know what he wants," I said bitterly. She nodded. "Typical." We ate in silence for a while, and then she said something that shifted everything. "You've always seen me, Jason, more than he ever did. Do you know that?" I looked up. Her eyes were soft, but searching. And I did know. I'd always known. And that terrified me. There's a moment when something changes between two people. Something subtle, a shift in the air, in a glance, a pause that lingers too long. That night, when Emily said I'd seen her more than Noah ever had, I felt that moment stretch between us like a tightrope. And I didn't know whether to step forward or back off. I washed the dishes in silence, needing something, anything, to keep my hands busy, my mind distracted. But she stayed close, too close. Her presence filled the room like perfume and memory, soft and dangerous. After I wiped down the counter, I turned around and found her staring at me. "I used to wonder what it would be like," she said softly, "if I'd met you first." My chest tightened. Don't." But she took a step closer. "I'm not asking for anything. I'm just being honest. You were always there. For every birthday, every crisis, every late-night phone call. You always remembered how I take my coffee, always asked about my art. And I just kept pretending that didn't mean something." I took a shaky breath. "You were married to my best friend." She smiled sadly. "Was." And then she kissed me. Not passionate, not urgent, just a soft, aching press of her lips on mine. Like a question she already knew the answer to. And I kissed her back. Only for a second. Only until the weight of reality came crashing down and I pulled away, heart racing. "We can't," I whispered. Her face didn't flinch, but her eyes dimmed. "I know," she said. She turned and walked to the guest room, closing the door behind her. The silence that followed was heavier than any words could be. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my balcony in the cold, watching the city lights flicker and fade into the dawn. The guilt ate at me, not just for kissing her, but for wanting more, for letting myself feel something that had no right to exist. Emily was not just anyone. She was the person Noah trusted me with more than anyone else in the world. And yet, somewhere in the quiet spaces of the past decade, between their fights and our phone calls, between birthday dinners and late-night drives, something had grown between us. Something that neither of us ever dared name. Until now. The next morning, Emily was gone. She left a note on the counter. "Jason, I'm sorry. I can't stay here and confuse both of us. Thank you for giving me a place to breathe, even just for a night. You've always been more than you should have been, and that's not fair to you, or to me. M." I stared at the note for what felt like an hour. Then I crumpled it in my fist. Days passed. Noah called me again. I didn't answer. Emily texted once. "I'm okay. Please don't worry." And nothing more. Work became a blur. Coffee tasted bitter. The city looked colder. And then came the wedding invitation. Lisa plus Noah. October 12th, 2025. Intimate ceremony. Chicago Botanic Garden. I felt like throwing up. He had filed the divorce. Finalized everything. And less than 4 months later, he was marrying her? I stared at the embossed lettering, wondering if this was his way of burning the last bridge between us. But what haunted me more was the question I couldn't silence. Where was Emily now? 2 weeks later, I found her at a small art exhibit downtown. Her work was displayed there. Abstract, emotional, strokes of pain and freedom blended on canvas. And in the far corner, near a painting titled Unsaid Things, there she was. She saw me before I could speak. "Jason," she said, half smiling. "I didn't think you'd come. I didn't know you were showing. You never asked." I nodded slowly, stepping closer. "You're okay." She tilted her head. "I'm healing." And I believed her. She looked lighter, braver, like someone who had finally let herself break, and then rebuild. We walked together in silence for a few minutes, stopping in front of another painting. This one was different. 2 figures, backs to each other, hands almost touching, surrounded by shadows and light. "What's this one called?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "Almost." I looked at her. She looked at me. And in that moment, I realized something. Some love stories aren't meant to be told through wedding vows or family dinners. Some love stories are written in pauses, in restraint, in the grace of what didn't happen. As we stood there, quiet and still, she said, "You were the only real thing I had when everything else fell apart." I nodded. "You still have me. Just maybe not the way we once imagined." She touched my hand briefly, and for the first time since that night, I felt peace. A month later, I received a message that shook something loose inside me. It was from Noah's sister, Claire. "Hey, I thought you should know. Noah was in an accident. Hit and run. He's in the hospital. Critical." Time slowed. The last time I had spoken to Noah, really spoken to him, was that night in the bar. The night he admitted everything without remorse. And yet, despite everything he'd done, despite the betrayal, I found myself in my car 15 minutes later, driving like the past had claws pulling me backward. When I arrived at the hospital, Claire met me outside the ICU. "He's stable now," she said. "They had to put him under. Might take a few days before he's conscious again." I nodded blankly. "Emily was here earlier," she added. "But she didn't stay." My heart clenched. That part of her life, even in pain, even in distance, it still pulled at her. She still cared. And maybe that was the hardest truth to accept. Sometimes love doesn't disappear. It just changes shape. I visited Noah every day that week. Mostly I sat by the window, watching machines blink and listening to the beeping rhythm of borrowed time. I didn't know what I'd say if he woke up. Would I forgive him? Would I tell him what happened between Emily and me? Would it even matter anymore? One evening, I brought him a photo album from our college days. Us drunk at bonfires, playing music on rooftops, hiking trails with Emily always somewhere in the frame. I turned the pages slowly, my fingers tracing a time that now felt foreign. And then I saw it. A photo of the three of us, Noah, Emily, and me, at the lake house during our final year. Noah had his arm around her. I had my camera, but the lens had caught something in Emily's eyes I hadn't noticed back then. She wasn't looking at Noah. She was looking at me. 2 days later, Noah woke up. He was groggy, disoriented, but alive. Claire and the doctors handled most of the talking. I stood back, unsure if I even belonged in the room anymore. But when she stepped out to make a call, Noah's eyes met mine. They were glassy, full of unspoken weight. "Jay," he croaked, voice cracked and raw. "Yeah," I said, stepping closer. He looked at me, really looked, for the first time in months. "Did she come back to you?" I froze. "What?" "Emily," he whispered. "I saw her in the hospital. She sat here when I was out. I could feel her hand on mine." He closed his eyes for a moment, like gathering courage. "You loved her, didn't you?" he asked. My throat burned. I didn't mean to, but you did." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I did." He let out a hollow breath. "I don't blame you." I swallowed hard. "You should." "No," he said. "I blame myself. I had her. I broke her. And you kept her from falling apart." A long silence settled between us. Then he turned his head and whispered, "Take care of her, if she'll let you." That night, I drove to the gallery where Emily was teaching a weekend class. She didn't see me at first. She was helping a group of teenagers paint abstracts, coaching them softly, laughing like someone who remembered how. When the session ended, I waited by the door. She noticed me, smiled, but it was a cautious smile, the kind you wear when you don't know if the past is here to hurt you or heal you. "Hey," she said, "can we talk?" We sat on the bench outside. The city buzzed around us, but we were in our own quiet orbit. "Noah's awake," I said. She nodded. "Claire told me. He asked about you." I figured. I took a breath. "He knows." Emily turned, eyes sharp. "What did you tell him?" "The truth. That I loved you. That I still do. that I didn't cross the line until after everything had fallen apart. She looked down at her hands. And what did he say? He told me to take care of you, if you'd let me. Tears welled in her eyes. I don't know if I can love anyone again. Not right now. I nodded. That's okay. I'm not asking you to. I'm just saying, I'm here. She leaned into me, rested her head on my shoulder. That's all I ever wanted. Epilogue. The lesson. It's been 9 months since that night she knocked on my door. Emily lives in her own apartment now, bright, full of color and canvases. We see each other twice a week, sometimes for coffee, sometimes for silence. Noah moved to Portland. He sees Sophie during holidays. We text occasionally. We're not best friends anymore, but we're not enemies either. Maybe that's a kind of peace. Life didn't return to what it was, but maybe it's not supposed to. Some things break for good reason. Some people walk into your life in the middle of the night, carrying everything they've lost, and unknowingly give you everything you were missing. I used to think love was loud, wild, cinematic. Now I know love is quieter than I ever imagined. It's in the way someone knocks on your door when they have nowhere else to go. It's in the restraint of a kiss not pursued. It's in standing by someone, even when you don't know how the story ends. And sometimes, love is choosing not what's easy or even what's right, but what's real.